Today we're taking to the skies to explore a critical, yet often overlooked, aspect of one of World War I's most iconic battles, the air campaign over Iwo Jima. While the image of Marines raising the flag on Mount Suribachi is seared into our collective memory, the fight for the skies above this tiny volcanic island was just as crucial and laid the groundwork for the final stages of the war in the Pacific. So why was this 8 square mile rock in the middle of the ocean so important? To understand that, we need to look at the bigger picture. By late 1944, the American war effort had brought the brand new B-29 Superfortress into play. These were the most advanced bombers of their time, capable of flying higher, faster, and farther than any before, from newly captured bases in the Mariana Islands, Guam, Tinian, and Saipan. They began a relentless strategic bombing campaign against the Japanese mainland. The goal was to cripple Japan's industrial capacity and will to fight, but there was a major problem. The journey from the Marianas to Japan was over 1,500 miles, a grueling 15-hour round trip over open ocean. This was at the extreme edge of the B-29's range. Every gallon of fuel was precious, meaning they often had to sacrifice bomb loads for extra gas. More critically, American fighter planes like the P-51 Mustang couldn't make that round trip. They simply didn't have the range to escort the bombers all the way to their targets and back. This left the B-29s dangerously exposed. Once they were beyond the range of their escorts, they were vulnerable to Japanese fighter planes and anti-aircraft fire. Early raids suffered heavy losses, but the danger wasn't just over Japan. Halfway between the Marianas and Tokyo lay Iwo Jima. The Japanese had turned this island into a formidable fortress, not just on the ground, but in the air. It was home to 2 operational airfields, with a third under construction. From these airfields, Japanese fighters could intercept the inbound B-29 formations, forcing them to burn precious fuel and drop their bombs early. Even worse, Iwo Jima housed an early warning radar station. It could detect the incoming American bomber streams hours in advance, giving the Japanese home islands ample time to scramble. Their defenses. The element of surprise was completely lost. For the B-29 crews, Iwo Jima was a hornet's nest. A damaged bomber limping back from a raid over Tokyo faced a terrifying gauntlet. If they couldn't make it back to the Marianas, their only option was to ditch in the vast, unforgiving Pacific. The U.S. military leadership, particularly the Army Air Forces, knew this situation was unsustainable. They needed a solution, and they needed it fast. They needed Iwo Jima. The plan was simple in concept, but brutal in execution. Capture Iwo Jima and its airfields. By doing so, the United States could achieve 3 critical objectives. First, it would eliminate the Japanese early warning radar and fighter threat. No more surprise attacks on the bomber streams. Second, it would provide a safe haven, an emergency landing strip for damaged B-29s that couldn't make it home. This alone would save countless lives and priceless aircraft. But the third objective was the game changer. Iwo Jima was the perfect location to station long-range P-51 Mustang fighters. From there, they could finally escort the B-29s all the way to Tokyo and back, protecting them from Japanese interceptors. The air campaign to soften up Iwo Jima began months before the first Marines set foot on the beach. Starting in August 1944, bombers from the 7th Air Force, based in the Marianas, began pounding the island. Day after day, B-24 Liberators and later B-29s dropped thousands of tons of bombs on the island's defenses. And airfields, naval aircraft from carrier task forces also joined the fray, strafing and bombing targets of opportunity. The goal was to obliterate the Japanese defenses and neutralize their air power before the invasion began. For 74 consecutive days leading up to the landing, Iwo Jima was subjected to one of the heaviest and most sustained bombardments of the war. From the air, it must have seemed like no one could possibly survive, but the Americans had underestimated their opponent, Lieutenant General Tadamichi Kuribayashi. Kuribayashi knew he couldn't stop the American landing. Instead, he devised a brilliant and terrifying strategy of defense in depth. He ordered his 21,000 defenders to build an intricate network of underground tunnels, bunkers, and fortified positions, some over 30 feet deep. The relentless bombing did little to affect these deep fortifications. While the surface of the island was churned into a desolate moonscape, the defenders were largely safe. Waiting. When the Marines landed on February 19, 1945, they were met with a storm of fire from these hidden positions. The battle for Iwo Jima became one of the bloodiest in Marine Corps' history. While the ground battle raged, the fight for the airfields was paramount. The first airfield, Motoyama No. 1, was a primary objective. Even as the fighting continued just yards away, U.S. Navy Seabees, the construction battalions, landed and began the Herculean task of repairing the runway. It was dangerous, back-breaking work under constant enemy fire, but their speed was astonishing. Just 4 days into the battle, while fighting still raged across the island, a damaged B-29 named Dynamite appeared in the sky, trailing smoke. It was returning from a raid on Tokyo and couldn't make it back to Tinian. The pilot desperately needed a place to land. On the ground, the Seabees and Marines worked frantically to clear the debris from Motoyama No. 1. The superfortress circled and made its approach, landing safely on the freshly repaired strip amidst the chaos of battle. It was a powerful, symbolic moment. The island, not yet fully secured, was already fulfilling its purpose and saving American lives. This was just the beginning. Over the course of the battle and in the months that followed, Iwo Jima became a lifeline for the B-29 as more than 2,200 superfortresses made emergency landings on the island's airfields that represents over 24,000 crewmen who were saved from ditching in the Pacific. The island earned its nickname, the unsinkable aircraft carrier. Once Mount Suribachi and the southern airfields were secured, the real prize came into play. On March 7, 1945, the first P-51 Mustangs of the 7 Fighter Command arrived on Iwo Jima. The long-range Little Friends were finally in position. Their mission was clear: escort the B-29s on their raids over Japan. On April 7th, they flew their first escort mission, accompanying a fleet of B-29s to the Nakajima aircraft factory near Tokyo. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Now, when Japanese fighters rose to challenge the bomber formations, they were met by swarms of aggressive American Mustangs. The P-51s could outfly and outfight most of their Japanese counterparts. They cleared the skies, allowing the B-29s to press their attacks with far greater accuracy and fewer losses. The balance of power in the skies over Japan had shifted decisively. The B-29s could now fly their missions with a powerful protective shield, fundamentally changing the nature of the strategic bombing campaign. The capture of Iwo Jima's airfields didn't just save lives. It intensified the pressure on Japan. The B-29 raids became more frequent, more devastating, and more effective. This relentless air assault, made possible by the sacrifice of those who fought and died on the black sands of Iwo Jima, played a direct role in pushing Japan toward its eventual surrender. So when we remember Iwo Jima, let's remember the full picture. It wasn't just about taking a piece of land. It was a strategic masterstroke, a battle for a base that unlocked the full potential of American air power. It was a fight for the skies, for an unsinkable aircraft carrier that saved thousands of airmen and helped bring an end to the Second World War. The courage of the Marines on the ground made it possible for the flyers in the air to complete their mission. Thank you so much for joining me today to explore this vital chapter of military history. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into the events that shaped our world. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious.